Obviously big home game for us. Really excited about it. Last time we had Georgia in our stadium, it was a tremendous game for people to watch and enjoy. Really good game for college football in the SEC. Got tremendous respect for Coach Richt and what he's been able to do in his career there over the long haul. I know our kids are really, really excited coming off a bye week. We've been able to get some time off. We've been able to get some rest and deal with some issues that we needed to kind of get resolved in terms of being able to get some guys back on the field. Really excited about this week and Georgia coming in our stadium. I think it's going to be interesting. They signed one of the top junior college players in the country, Jonathan Rump, is a wide receiver who I think is going to play this week from what we're seeing and hearing. And I've just been so impressed with their quarterback and how he's handled all the change in personnel. I think it's been as impressive as anything I've seen this year, just watching him adjust and adapt all year long and find ways to make plays.
First, we have Danny Brewer, the Rutherford Reader.
Coach, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. Talk for a minute about Jordan Matthews, what kind of player this kid is, and what he's meant to the team this year.
Well, he's one of the most competitive kids I've ever been around. His work ethic on the practice field is good or better than anybody I've ever been around. That translates to game days as well. Having a very, very productive year. I mean, everybody knows that he's going to touch the ball as many times as we can possibly get it to him, and he's still finding ways to be productive, although he's probably the area of concentration for most defensive coordinators and defensive teams to stop him. People are game planning to stop him, whether it's bracket coverage, whether it's double coverage, whether it's rolling the coverage to him, things like that. So I think it's been impressive to see the production he's been able to have over the last 2 years and this year as well.
Coach, talk for a minute about your pass rush and what kind of factor that's going to play when you're facing a guy like Aaron Murray, who you've already touched on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very important. I think they got a big, skilled offensive line who's played well together for the last couple of years. For us to try to pressure the quarterback is always a big part of our game plan. We feel like you got to try to frustrate the decision maker, and that's going to be a big part of what we do this week and what we do every week. You'd like to get to a point where we can get a little bit more pressure just from your 4 down and not feel like you have to blitz every single time to do it. I think that's when you got a chance to be really good on defense. So we'd like to be able to do that a little bit more, but we also have to keep them on their toes in terms of bringing pressure from different areas, whether it's the linebacker, the corners, or the safeties, or whatever it may be.
Coach, appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Next is David Pascal, the Chattanooga Times Free Press.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Hey, David. How are you, buddy?
Fine, thanks. Hey, as a follow-up on Matthews, what does – I remember after the Ole Miss game, Hugh Freeze said everybody in the stadium knew who Carter Samuels was going to on that 4th and 18 play in double coverage. He still makes the play. When you're talking about a guy who is seeing so many coverages and a lot of double coverages, what makes him so effective in his continuation to get these 100-yard games and be so productive?
I think it's a combination of two things. I think he's got tremendous physical tools, and what I mean by that, I'm really talking specifically his body. I mean, talking about a 6'3", 212-pound wide receiver who's got tremendous ball skills and body control. So I think that's the one thing that separates. Some guys have quickness that makes them special. Some guys have just flat-out raw speed that makes them special, or leaping ability. I think the thing that makes Jordan special is his body and his body control and ball skills. On top of that, he's just such a driven competitor. He believes he's the best player on the field whenever he steps on the field, every single time. That's kind of his belief, whether that's in practice or whether that's in games. I made a statement a few years ago that he believed he's the best wide receiver in the country 2 years ago, and he works like that and backs it up. I think confidence is a very, very powerful thing. Believing in yourself, believing in your system, believing in your team, and he brings that to us.
And then when in studying Georgia, and specifically their defensive front, they lost a lot of guys on defense at all 3 levels. But in focusing on their defensive front, they've actually been pretty disruptive so far this year. What impresses you about their defensive front, and in particular Ray Drew, number 47?
Yeah, he's the guy that jumps out to me. I mean, they got a number of guys that are impressive. But I think, Ray Drew is probably the guy. He's so relentless. He's got a tremendous motor. He's got real good combination of size and athleticism. The biggest difference for us that I see on tape is just it's not necessarily the people, it's the size. I mean, last year, I think their starting nose guard was 360 pounds and the backup was 350. And for us, we're not the biggest team in the first place. What we're seeing this year is a little bit different, just from the raw size standpoint. But you're still looking at a very athletic front. I think the linebackers are the strength of their defense, and they got some really good athletic guys in the secondary. They're playing some young kids. But the kids they're playing are very, very talented. So, we're excited about it.
Thank you.
Next is Seth Emerson of the Macon Telegraph.
Hey, James.
Hey, Seth, how are you?
You briefly mentioned the game a couple years ago. I know that what happened after the game and the postgame got the most attention, but what do you remember about just the game itself and the ending and the punter making the tackle at the end to save it for Georgia? And did that game have any effect on your program?
Just an unbelievable game. I think, we've had a couple of those games like that here where, people that are watching, TV or at the game watching it, if you're a fan of college football, what an unbelievable game. What an unbelievable game to watch. You hate to see that, somebody has to come out on the short end of it, but that's how the game goes. So, great game for us, great opportunity for our kids to get out there and play against a quality opponent who's respected nationally. And that's really what that game was, and, that's what this game will be this Saturday. We're excited about it.
Thanks.